Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Robert, and I'll be your guide in this meditation practice that enters a space of mindfulness through the act of drawing. This week, we'll explore symmetry, something we're used to in our interaction with the world, having two sides, roughly the same most of the time, and of engaging with people who also share that kind of generally symmetrical relationship, and looking at what it brings in a kind of a creative act. It brings recognition, our brains trained to look for those patterns of symmetry, often in recognizing things like faces for ourselves in the mirror, that reflection of one thing into another, kind of the same, but never quite exact or perfect. And as we draw, it can be a bigger challenge to maintain that separation of one side and the other, whether that's left and right, top and bottom, or around. Any way you want to look at symmetry is fine for the exercise. Making a mark, a shape, a figure on one side, and then reflecting it over to that other side is a challenge in the mind. It may be a challenge in your configuration and your setup here, where I keep things kind of stable for the camera. Doing the same thing in two different places can be quite different and difficult to the position of my arms. So you might find that as part of the exercise something to pay attention to lean into, to explore. Can they be close? Can we find symmetry? And can we be okay with letting it differentiate just a tad, bringing to it a more organic feel? A little different on this side than the other, a little twist left or right, whatever emerges there on the paper. I was going to use a pen, having to pull out a little set of nice pigment liner, Staedtler pens, and whatever works for you, but pencil will work just fine. Paper, standard piece of Bristol, sketchbook, notebook paper, anything you can make a mark on wherever you are will work as well. So go ahead and gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. Starting place for this exercise will be a reflection on symmetry in some way. But what you draw in that, see what you like to take with it. I think in the warm-up we'll just explore a couple of ways to engage. The idea being the flexibility and unevenness we often experience in symmetry that can make it a little more interesting. What we might do on a piece of scrap paper, just some page in a sketchbook, is to consider where that symmetry takes place. A line somewhere. Could be vertical, could be right down the middle of the page. We take it all the way out. Could be a line anywhere that just becomes a place of reflection. So that's free to explore in the exercise. I'll make it explicit. Just let it be clearly a line there, a place to let our eye and our hand work differently on two sides of something. I'll try to bring them together. And in the exercise, we could work with simple shapes, say something there like an L that just reflects to the other side, even a line, dash in a direction. Could be something curvy, giving it more complexity and trying to match on either side. Vision and your position and interface will affect this. If you have something you can move around a lot, that might make more complex things easier, but it's okay one way or the other. It could be a combination, sometimes curvy lines, sometimes straight, the deviation under your control, or maybe not as we progress. I think I'll work some with shapes, things that define a region, and trying to take those shapes and loosely make them again somewhere roughly reflected. But obviously everything's going to shift around and move without structure to the page in just a sketching format. So in a few strokes here, maybe finding a couple of other little localized places. Think about how you'll make a mark. Anything will work. I think keeping it simple can make it a little perhaps easier to mirror the objects, but perhaps more noticeable when they're dissimilar from each other. And as we build up the relationships of lines across that center line or dividing place, we'll get enough density we can come back in and begin to introduce new things between them. See how they can connect, grow, and become more of a connected tapestry, or play with that white space as you see fit. If you use a pencil, you can get a little bit more flexibility and softness in kind of fudging the relationship. But I'll use pen, it shows up nice, and might as well commit to it. As you take a moment after a little play and that warm up, let it trickle into the mind, maybe settle on a place to start. The direction can change over the course and time of the exercise. Check in on the body, our guide to symmetry. Maybe move a little side to side, little flex in the core, the spine, little slide of the hips that shifts from that generally aligned central condition. Puts things just a bit into eccentricity to make sure they're all settled in place. Nothing's weighted too heavy as we return back to the center and evenness and fill out a little space with a nice inhalation. Hold it for a moment and then let it just softly release out of the body. Everything settling into its natural state, if not symmetrical, at least balanced. Through the exercise, we'll deal with the imbalance that may come from primary and secondary preference to the hands or learning to the hands, changes to the nervous system, the way we see and move around, have to engage with the drawing. Then we'll start by choosing that initial axes of symmetry, and wherever you kind of see fit on the page. I think I'll just go roughly in the middle. Take a moment to find that spot and lightly scribe a line as our guide for reflecting two sides. There can be a little more to the symmetry, that reflection, relationship to a mirror, always a calibration and a reading through a lens of some kind. Not always perfect or crystal clear. And then with the two sides marked on the page, finding the place to begin your first interaction. Hold it a moment in the mind, steady and ready. And then make your first shape, line, figure, whatever it may be. Notice it for a moment, what it changes in its relationship to that axis, that center place, how it may change the balance of the page, and then finding a reference close to the line as a starting point for mirroring that form across. And our goal, not exactness, but a training to try to see similar on either side. The position of the hand, the orientation, maybe switching hands will all bring significant difference to each shape. And sticking with a language, whether closed, blobby shapes like this, or simple lines and letter-like shapes, we're moving into the next one. New place, same place. Finding another figure somewhere there in the paper. We'll get a few started, just working our way around. getting comfortable with our position, the motion, the visual language we're exploring. Some maybe more complex, some farther out, some closer in. Getting familiar with the territory. A shape can even meet the line and mirror across if you're interested. Anything's open there. We're just exploring our mind symmetry, starting to notice how we engage the idea. I notice for myself, I seem to start on the left. No real initial intention. Where do your shapes begin? Is it jumping back and forth to preference aside? Noticing where you may begin drawing them. Perhaps we start in one place. On the left side, I notice I move counterclockwise around to form the shape. On the right, seeming to start in a different place. The second shape, often my mind looking for reference. So somewhere identifiable. But still, in this case, counterclockwise, and that may change each time, but just in observing, keeping it in mind of how you start the motion, and maybe occasionally mixing it up, seeing how that changes the mind. The position changing, the interaction with the paper. The things drawn start to fade a little bit from the foreground. Each one a unique little interaction with the page, just trying to find its twin or cousin across that line. And then we've got something going, a visual language, a position to the paper. We can use it to calm the whole connection with our space through the breath, using the next several shapes or engagements to just align that slowing down process. Draw at the speed that feels comfortable, but the interaction becomes the process. Steadying the body before each engagement. You can steady with the inhalation, bringing connection to the core, that filling out of the breath, noticing it engages all the tissues and muscles, it expands them a little bit, stabilizes the body, the exhalation, allowing some relaxation there. Choosing where you want to draw, whether that's on the exhalation or in between. And I'll go an inhalation to find place. Engage and exhale in the act of drawing. And then let the breath return to normal for a moment before changing that engagement to the other side. Breathing in to stabilize and exhaling to make the mark. Finding place to that building compression through tension and exhaling to release it into the drawing. that filling out, really noticing that moment between engagements, feeling the breath recenter the body, feeling the exhalation relax from the core, letting the breath be the thing in your mind, pulling a little bit away from what you see on the page and what the pen or pencil feels on the page. The pen is moving. Breath is moving the body. The eye is doing its best to track, with the mind to hold the figure in its presence. But we can release a little bit of that and let the mind be just absorbed into the breathing. That inhalation and exhalation makes a sound, reminds us of our presence in space, holds us in the physical. Gives us that opportunity to release from being too caught up in the exactness of our mirroring, the fussing of position. Each one a new organization, maybe a little challenging. Just absorbed and released by that cycle of inhalation and exhalation. Should have a pretty good density of things forming on the page. A relationship and consistency of a loose visual language, whether that's again just little line segments or shapes, blobs, whatever they may be, sharing some consistency to them. And you start to see pattern, symmetry often bringing that to mind. Finding relationship to known to help map that world. Something emerging on the drawing and the mind wanting to see it, put it in a place. And we can notice that, engage with the idea or the metaphor forming, or just breathe and find a place. Exhale and make the mark. Filling up a little more space on the paper, letting it grow and expand. the shapes bringing their own character, guidance to the pen or pencil, filling in around. And feel free to continue building out the tapestry mirrored around that central axis, reinforcing the relationship of left and right, above and below, whichever orientation you're in, or with a place established, system of space between and space of shape or figure. We begin to play within that territory, draw into what we see, make connections. That might be through shading, through pen or inkwork or line, through filling in, working between, anything that comes to mind, but continuing just with shapes works just as well. I think I'll start bridging some of the interesting gaps and seeing how that changes the relationship. For me, just little ticks or curves that connect to close by edges for a little while until they run out of connection or morph into something else. I may also find something interesting on the inside of shapes, building them up into more complex regions, and anything there can go to explore in the next phase. Finding an idea on one side, testing and exploring that idea out on the other side. Letting the subtle differences between left and right create new but connected worlds. And with that presence of the drawing, taking a few moments just for that exploration of quiet, of engaging, of really absorbing just in this little world for a moment, and enjoy some time to draw and explore. And as you have some time there to really be absorbed into that collection of curves and lines, shapes, and space between you made on the page, letting the last few minutes of the exercise continue. The technique as more ink or graphite fill out spaces on the page, the eyes, finding more connection, more pattern. We're finding those interesting moments of misalignment and inconsistency, where things don't always play out as intended. We run out of room to connect inconsistent dots, noticing them, looking for opportunity within, letting the geometry, shapes be a guide to reading into the drawing. Maybe that brings some opportunity for shading, to intensify moments, to let them pop or differentiate. That gradual emergence complexity from a few simple starting blocks. The game of symmetry we see played out. An easy button, so to speak. We did it once and it worked. Just do it again on the other side. But with all the influence of the world around, generating variation and complexity, challenging balance, and building more visually interesting systems of coherence and discordance. In the last couple of minutes, gradually letting ourselves come back to the surface, deep down in that well of marking and seeing, reading, figure and line, space and territory, of challenging ourselves to mirror one behavior to the other side, to renegotiate the subtle changes from place to place. Slowly releasing them by noticing them, by noticing the presence and absorption, by re-noticing the breath, just the tempo. No need to guide, fast or slow. Hearing it, noticing that it's happening. Sometimes when absorbed, it gets shallow, light, disappears into the place. And then hearing your inhalation, air rush past the nostrils, hearing the exhalation, the air moving out into the space around you. Or to take some time to let the pen slow down for a moment. If you're in between sides or halfway to the vision you see, you can always come back to it, but to take a break, to recalibrate, to listen to what's around us, to listen to what comes out. Observe it through the drawing, observe it through a reflection for a couple of moments in silence after the exercise. Taking a few breaths present there to say, I'm done for now. And make an intention for what you'll do next. There's plenty of things to reflect on, to look into in this interface with symmetry, the way our brain finds patterns, our interest or distaste for it. It often is a maligned or negotiated issue in design and art. But beyond those, it's opened up a territory. And for me, what I see there, the techniques I've started, the patterns, the challenge of putting them here and on the other side, the same but different, the opportunities for seeing what emerges in that space between the two halves, have me intrigued. And so, before digging too deep in a reflection on what comes from the practice and the meditation, I think I'll just continue to enjoy a little time developing some organic symmetry and see where the drawing goes. So have fun, a little continued time lapse. See if you can't take a little of the relaxation and alignment with you into the rest of your day. Draw well. Thank you.